I played an unhealthy amount of Amnesia the Double D when I was younger, spending countless hours on the main story and various custom campaigns with only the help of 13-year-olds on YouTube as guidance. I swear you could find the most obscure game in existence, there would still be some fucking walkthrough detailing how to get unstuck from a certain part. All this made me pretty excited and confused when I got the game for free from Epic Games pretty close to release, especially since I'd recently finished and also loved Soma. Fuck, I love Soma. Either way, I kind of moved country and forgot I had the game until recently, so I thought I'd binge it all. Safe to say it was a slightly complicated experience. Now, the game begins with what is essentially the beginning of Bioshock, just in Africa, with you tripping out every now and then and seeing Rapture. Then, who would have guessed it, your plane crashes and you're crawling out of the wreck. All my footage was corrupted for the start of this game, so you'll have to make do with someone else's footage for now. Now, shit's already hit the spooky fan, as you're the only one on the plane, and you can hear memories of the rest of the passengers escaping the wreck. Fun. None of this occurred to me though when I was playing the game for the first time, as I kinda just ran around looking for the next area, wondering why my character was hearing voices. I didn't even find the exit for a good 10 minutes, but admittedly that's because I'm a fucking idiot. One thing leads to another, and you end up in a cave and then in the UK because of some weird amulet thing, all while the game pauses to tell you about its weekend and flashes the cheapest fucking jump scares imaginable. After you traverse the wastes of Birmingham, walking past all the random fucking notes telling you what cereal the previous travellers had before they met their horrific demise, wabang, you're back in Africa. Actually, I forgot the best part, where the game flashes a tutorial hint about crouching so you make less noise and plays a weird sound at you, even though there's literally nothing there. This is going to become a delightful reoccurrence. There's also a little story segment where you're back in Paris, but not really, plus there's a whole thing with a giant floating fetus, but yeah, Africa. You're back in the cave and then you leave the cave and find a castle. Finally, I thought, I can play an Amnesia game. You explore a bit, only to end up in a dodgy looking building with a radio. Needless to say, your goal in this bit is to get the radio to contact survivors of the plane crash. Now the puzzle that followed took me an embarrassingly long time to figure out. Again, because I'm an idiot. But as I mentioned, I lost the footage for this bit, so thankfully you don't actually have to watch me struggle through it. After a heavy case of destruction of property and vandalism of a listed building, and more than likely interference in a crime scene, you contact the doctor and learn that you have to go to the village through some mountain pass thing. The game flashes more context clues in your face and you go back upstairs to have an actually scary moment where you get chased by some crackhead. In typical game fashion, like fuck can you go around the fort and straight to the village, you have to go through it. This then led to an impressive show of my idiocy as I took another 20 minutes to figure out how to build some tank shells so I could blow up some door. With the tank shell finally made, you load it up and shoot the door, except that doesn't happen and you fall through the earth into the depths of the castle like a twat. I should probably mention that you're pregnant in the game, so this tank fall doesn't exactly bode well for the whole survivability of the fucker. Now this is where my footage starts. Man, I love recording videos. After you leave the tank, you're greeted with some absolutely lovely environments that would make anyone feel comfortable. Then you feel a kick from the most unkillable fucking baby on this goddamn planet. After realizing your baby is still alive, you fuck off into a big pit with a pretty simple puzzle and a spooky bit. Oh dear. The fun doesn't stop there though as you're greeted with the water section. Now when I first came across it, I was pretty excited as the water sections in the old Double D were interesting, if very stressful pieces of gameplay. Amnesia Rebirth decides to innovate on this, however, by blasting royalty-free creepy sounds at you before subjecting you to the most scripted chase sequence in fictional games history, leading you to the bottom of the big pit. Because your character is perfectly sane, she decides the best plan is to follow a blue light she's clearly hallucinating through stress. This leads to her getting washed down a big tunnel that somehow dumps her outside the castle, even though we're meant to be deep underground. Anyway, now you're seemingly back in the African desert, and all the game wants to do is chat shit loudly into my headphones as I'm forced to listen while bumbling my way through boring environments, except, oh no, you're in Liverpool again, and now you need to make it back to the African desert. As per fucking usual, there's a shitload of notes to read and things to click on that shout shit in your ear, which is lovely narrative delivery. You're almost immediately greeted with a simple-ass puzzle where you have to line up some lights, only for the game to throw another one at you. Only this time, it quite clearly leads to a portal back to Africa. Quick detour to accidentally kill some woman, and absorb some convoluted story from the cylinders, and you're back in Africa. Except no, you're back in fetus land again for some lovely cryptic context on this woman's previous child. Then she amusingly explodes into sand. Now you're back in Africa, and you've got some tunnels to explore, which is a lovely experience. The environment kinda reminded me of The Dark Descent, actually, which made me rather sad, as I wished I was making a video about that game instead. Needless to say, this doesn't last, and you almost immediately go back to hell and find a bunch of red goo from the first Amnesia. I'm sure there's some kind of lore video explaining this, I don't know. Before long, the inanimate red goo becomes very animated and starts to chase you, which I actually wasn't expecting. This chase leads to an actual portal room, which I'm sure will send you to the right place, because this game hasn't cucked me at all. The only thing standing in my way is the fact that the portal's broken. To fix it, I had to do a simple puzzle and then turn the portal on, except but oh no, I need some fucking power cells as well. Lovely. Because this game absolutely loves you, the power cell is located deeper in the dingy cave. After running through some level design that wasn't confusing at all, you find your dead friend in a big-ass maze that kind of reminds me of the Mines of Moria, just very, very small. There's also one of those crack-addle dudes hanging about the maze, which makes things ever so slightly tense. After some light puzzling and some light running, you're greeted with some more vague story in a room filled with blood. Man, this game loves to treat me. Now, the puzzle in this bit basically involves turning a bunch of stuff on so that you can progress. It's all very complicated. All this light mechanical engineering and switch turning is sadly interrupted as you find a friend who isn't actually dead. He's just being tortured. Now, after you lock his torture up, you gotta free him and he tries to kill you, so you go absolutely apeshit, murder him, trip balls, and then wake up somewhere else. This all conveniently leads back to the blood room, where everything is pretty much working, so you break it again, try to get past a gate, then this dude tries to kill you, so you fall in a big hole like a knob. The main character's affiliation with going through dodgy-ass tunnels seems to pay off finally, as you go through an especially dodgy tunnel that leads you straight back to the portal room. Now this is actually good, as you finally have the second power cell, so you can turn the portal on, except oh no, the red goo's back, so you pass out and wake up in a somehow dodgier cave with that weird blue bitch. This boring-ass meander only gets vaguely interesting when you see the shadow of an enemy on the wall, but as per fucking usual, it's just a scripted sequence where you're safe all along. This is where the game goes all alien isolation on you and throws you in an area with about 20 of the weird golem things, which is actually really tense and entertaining. Still rather scripted, but entertaining nonetheless. This actually enjoyable bit leads you straight into a mediocre puzzle and then a scripted chase scene, because we haven't had enough of those already. I guess it's a good way to get you back into the portal room, but this was just destroyed by the red goo, but who's counting? It'd be great if the portal actually took you to the village like you'd be hoping, but it's Amnesia Rebirth, so of course it fucking doesn't. It just takes you straight to Cardiff. When the whole teleportation and story context thing is done, you awaken a weirdly bright room with a broken portal that you'd think you'd need to fix, but it's actually completely fucking pointless. More light pyramid puzzle things follow when you power up a weird x-ray machine and find out your baby's dying. I'm not too surprised if I'm being honest, as this woman seems perfectly content to use her baby bump as a personal airbag, but she seems surprised by the whole outcome, so I guess I feel bad for her. Either way, when you find out your profoundly depressing news, the cryptic blue woman phases into existence and tells you she can help your baby or something in a completely safe plan that I'm sure won't end in disaster and torment. After being dumped on the floor by the x-ray machine thing, you go through some corridors, then make your way through a weird cagey bit and end up in what I can only assume is Hell's version of Grand Central or London Paddington or some shit. You also come across some chair thing that's supposed to help your baby, but I couldn't exactly find what I needed, so carried on looking for the power cell for the train, which wasn't that easy due to the whole weird warden Death Eater looking fuck. One thing leads to another and you end up finding some woman in a slot for a power cell, but I didn't have the effort to grab the power cell from upstairs, so I kinda just left her there. I later found out that anything you do just fucking kills her, so I guess I was doing the right thing. After that whole ordeal, you get on the death train. Well, it's more of a tram really, I mean look at the speed. It's not exactly there for this one. Not that you can tell with me running around the train like a small child. Inevitably, the train doesn't stop at the right stop and you end up hiding from a bunch of the Death Eater fucking things on the tiny tram before the tram just decides it doesn't really want to be a part of the situation and hands it its fucking notice. This leads quite comfortably into another section with more of the weird floating wankers and you run and hide around a lot of pod things full of people, I think. Good section. I even died a few times. Moving on, you find a door in a pretty room. You then go down the ladder in the middle of the room into more of the same Death Eatery, stressy, stealthy, I can't think of any more S's, but you know what I'm fucking saying. Moving forward, you come across some weird bubble-looking thing at a steering wheel. Now this will be important later on. Anyway, goo. Lots of it. Naturally, you bumble your way through some water to hide from more of the watcher fucking... Actually, I'm gonna Google what they're called. They're called gatherers. Fair enough then. Anyway, after that, you go back to Africa, except it's not Africa, you're in Paris, but oh no, you're not actually in Paris, you're just in Fetus Land again. Fucking hell, I need to find a new name for that. And you swim through some water because you're sad that your other baby died. More on that later. After the literal trip, for once in the goddamn game, you actually end up where you want to be. You slowly walk into the village because you're ever so slightly in labor, then come across all the plane crash survivors after they've finished with the whole, you know, surviving aspect to their existence. After realizing all your friends are dead, you get caught in a bear trap and then assaulted and chased by one of your friends. She gets shot, then you quite literally have to give birth by pressing the W key, which is a level of engagement I frankly didn't ask for my gaming experience, I must say. Either way, the doctor steals your baby and you fucking Hulk strength out with some rope, which I presume was heavy grade, otherwise the doctor kind of had it coming. He also stole the amulet. Probably worth mentioning as you run through the desert and then go back into Slough. Next up is a whole puzzle with an elevator, which was fun and definitely took me half an hour, while this walkthrough did it in about 3 minutes. Anyway, you take the elevator up and then bash the doctor's skull in like an absolute fucking ape. Now this is where I fucked up, because I was pretty done with the game at this point and kept taking intermittent breaks. So in this bit, Blue Woman is basically saying cheers for the kid, love, and giving you one last chance to be with it before you go full fucking crackhead. There was a breastfeeding segment immediately after that lasted about 2 minutes, so after that section was done, I was kind of done with the game for a day or two. Sucks to be me though, as when I jumped back in, all I saw was baby and thought click on crib. When I did, I immediately realised, oh yeah, that was my chance at an actual ending. I did try clicking on the crib again, but that didn't work, so I walked out and got tased by Big Blue herself. Roll credits. So basically, that Blue Woman is the Lord of the Underworld, and made you and your friends drink some Kool-Aid, and you went absolutely batshit ballistic, except you suddenly turned human again and lose your memory, because, you know, you're pregnant, I guess. Blue Woman wants your baby, but oh no, all your kids end up having a degenerative disease, hence all the trippy sequences with your previous babies. So in the end, your choices are run away with your baby to Paris, only for you to turn into a monster with a dead baby, or give your offspring to literal Satan and work for her as a monster and hope that she's telling the fucking truth. I guess I chose the latter, though with these fucking choices, it doesn't really matter, does it? I'd like to believe there's more to the story, given all the fucking notes and context flashing on your screen, but that's the basic plot. In the game's defense, I am a bit of an idiot, and reading notes for more than 2 minutes may make my brain explode, so I refrained from doing so, but I was left at a bit of a loss. I previously played through Soma and had no issue understanding the plot, as although there were just as many notes and context clues, they weren't integral to the game's story and core philosophy, which is fucking great, by the way. Play Soma. Story aside though, I just didn't quite get what I wanted out of this game. It falls short as a survival horror, as it's kind of just a Pirates of the Caribbean ride through some stressful bits, and falls short as a story-driven adventure, as although the story is present, it's told to you with the same engagement as a silent fucking movie. I feel like such a Gen Z brain-go burr motherfucker while typing all of this, but at the end of the day, Amnesia the Dark Descent, Soma, and Penumbra is still some of my favourite games, so what the fuck went wrong here? Well, I have two theories. First off, those fucking notes and flashing context clues. Fine. Have notes. Almost every fucking game does now. Alongside fucking audio logs, but don't make them integral to the game's plot, as it just makes you feel like the game's hiding the plot from you. Second off, and bear with me here because it's gonna get a bit weird, but wardrobes. Now, first off, I'd like to mention my opinion on what separates a gimmick from a mechanic. Now, the Amnesia games have always had this kind of physics-based interaction with all of its games. It goes as far back as Penumbra. I feel it was perfected in Dark Descent, as it had some gimmicky one-time applications in puzzles, but actually had gameplay uses, with peeking around doors and frantically slamming wardrobes closed so you could hide in them. Or in particularly stressful moments, slam all the shit from the wardrobe on the floor so you can slam your fat ass inside to hide. This, in my opinion, is a mechanic, as it has recurring uses in stealth gameplay. I guess you can also use it to throw shit as a distraction, but I mean, I was kind of too stupid to find moments to use that, so my bad there. Now cut to Rebirth, and its only use seems to be for subpar puzzles, presumably as some sort of immersion, which is a nice touch, but I'd argue that it falls into the category of gimmick. Now think of grapple hooks in games as a comparison. I know it's a bit of a fucking far stretch, but just hear me out on this one, okay? Just Cause will let you grapple onto anything, and in later games it becomes crucial to not only transportation, but destruction, as you can do some pretty cool shit with it. Mechanic. Now picture grapple hooks in Far Cry 4. You can use them in a few specific situations, i.e. climbing up cliffs, and although it's well implemented, it can even be quite fun swinging about frantically as you wait until you reach the top. Its uses are so limited, I bet you even forgot the game had fucking grapple hooks. Gimmick. Now, I'm not saying adding wardrobes would fix all Amnesia Rebirth issues, but it would be nice if the gameplay parts of the game actually felt like a game instead of a choose-your-own adventure where every option leads to a dead fucking baby.